You're listening to a production of the National Media Archive. To learn more or volunteer, go to nationalmediaarchive.com.
Kevin Systrom and Mike Krieger started off like any other kids with an interest in tech. Kevin, though, had an especially strong pull towards the field. Growing up, both of his parents worked in corporate tech, which led him to develop a fascination with gaming and design. By the time he got to Stanford, it was clear that tech would be his future. There, Kevin would meet Mike Krieger, his future co-founder, and together they'd change the social media landscape. Kevin's exceptional skills got him accepted into the prestigious Mayfield Fellows Program at Stanford, where he took part in an internship program at some startup companies. One of these companies was a little-known platform called Audio, later known as Twitter. Kevin would only stay there for a few months, but during his time, he managed to make crucial connections with the company's founders. These connections would lead to future collaborations, including with none other than Mark Zuckerberg, who offered Kevin a job at Facebook. However, Kevin had other plans. He chose to study photography in Italy instead. That was a pivotal moment. Kevin narrowly avoided a job at one of the biggest tech companies of the time. At that point, Facebook, Twitter, and Google were all taking off. It seemed like Kevin had missed out on a major opportunity. But little did anyone know, his next move would more than make up for it. Kevin spent a few years working at various tech companies, even spending time at Google. But none of it lit the fire that building something of his own would. By the mid-2000s, Kevin was starting to feel the pressure of the decisions he'd made. After all, he had turned down 3 dream jobs in one of the fastest-growing industries of all time. And now he was watching Facebook, Twitter, and Google skyrocket while his career seemed to stall. But instead of just wallowing, Kevin decided to take matters into his own hands. He and Mike reunited to build an app called Bourbon, which was essentially a check-in app that let users post updates about where they had been and attach pictures. It didn't take long for them to realize, though, that the market didn't need it. The idea wasn't solving a problem that people cared about. The app didn't take off, and it quickly became clear that Bourbon was a bust. Despite some initial backing, including $500,000 from investors, $25,000 of which came from Twitter co-founder Jack Dorsey, the app only gained a small, uninterested user base. But then, in the midst of all this failure, Kevin and Mike learned something important. When they spoke to Bourbon's users, they discovered that the only feature people actually cared about was the photo sharing aspect of the app. That got them thinking, what if they could solve a different problem, a real problem? Instead of continuing with the existing app, they decided to pivot. They would create a photo sharing platform that focused on solving the problems mobile users were facing with photos. At the time, uploading photos on mobile phones was painfully slow, and mobile photos didn't look good. So Kevin and Mike started rethinking how photos were shared on mobile devices. Instead of making photo uploads the final step, they decided to start the upload process earlier, which would make things faster. Additionally, they realized that most mobile photos were poor quality because of resolution issues. Their solution was to force the photos to a smaller square size, making them look better on any phone, and also speeding up the upload process by reducing the file size. This was all working toward making the app as seamless as possible. They even developed features that would give users a professional touch on their photos, making them stand out and look more polished. After 8 weeks of work, their app was ready. It had no name at first, but eventually they decided on Instagram. The app was ready for release in 2010, and little did they know, it would change the world. Once Instagram launched, the impact was immediate. In just 2 months, Instagram hit 1 million active users. This kind of growth caught the attention of investors, and soon Instagram raised $7 million in funding. This came from a variety of sources, venture capital firms like Benchmark Capital and individuals within the Silicon Valley network, including Jack Dorsey, who had invested in Bourbon. By early 2011, Instagram was valued at $25 million, an impressive feat for an app that had only been out for about 6 months. But the real growth was still to come. Instagram's user base exploded, and it became clear that the app was tapping into something bigger than anyone had anticipated. In June 2011, just 8 months after its launch, Instagram hit 5 million users, and by August, it reached 10 million. Celebrities like Justin Bieber and Ariana Grande quickly became early adopters, bringing millions of fans with them. This surge helped Instagram cement its position as the rising star of Silicon Valley. Despite this success, the future of Instagram was far from certain. There were rumors swirling about acquisition offers, with some speculating that Twitter, due to the close relationships between Jack Dorsey and the Instagram founders, would make a move to buy Instagram. But in a twist, Facebook swooped in with an offer of its own. In April 2012, Facebook bought Instagram for $1 billion. The deal wasn't just about the money. It was about the strategic advantages Facebook saw in acquiring Instagram. Instagram's founders were given assurances that the app would remain largely independent under Facebook's umbrella. They would continue to run the show, and Facebook would provide the funding and resources to help Instagram grow even further. The deal wasn't just financially beneficial for Kevin and Mike. They would each walk away with hundreds of millions of dollars in cash. For both of them, this acquisition meant financial freedom and the realization of their vision. But the story didn't stop there. The moment Instagram was bought by Facebook, things began to change. Soon, new features began to appear on the app: video sharing, photo tagging, and more. These changes were in line with Facebook's own features, and they were a clear indication that the app was starting to take on Facebook's own identity. At the same time, Instagram's growth only accelerated. The app hit 50 million users just 3 weeks after the acquisition, and quickly doubled that number within months. But with growth came new challenges. Instagram was becoming too successful for its own good. It was quickly outpacing Twitter and even Facebook in some metrics, and Facebook executives began to notice this. To keep Instagram under control, Facebook started pushing its own agenda. In an effort to make Instagram profitable, Facebook introduced more ads into the platform, even though Kevin and Mike had resisted this from the beginning. The founders had always been about quality and user experience, but Facebook was all about monetizing as quickly as possible. But even as Instagram grew, the cracks began to show. The platform was becoming more ad-driven and more crowded with promotional content. It wasn't just the ads that were causing tension. Facebook's growing influence over Instagram began to take a toll on the platform's identity. Instagram's founders were increasingly at odds with the direction Facebook was pushing. In the summer of 2016, Instagram hit 500 million users, but the internal conflicts were reaching a boiling point. The rapid growth meant that Instagram was facing new challenges, including the difficulty of maintaining the high level of quality that users had come to expect. As more and more users joined, Instagram's small team struggled to keep up with the demands of the platform. This tension was only made worse by Facebook's attempts to limit Instagram's independence. Mark Zuckerberg was clearly worried about Instagram's growing influence, and he started taking actions to ensure that it wouldn't outshine Facebook. As Instagram's growth continued, Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook's strategy became increasingly clear. Zuckerberg wasn't just worried about Instagram becoming a competitor to Facebook. He feared that Instagram could surpass Facebook in terms of influence and user engagement. This tension between the platforms was escalating as Instagram's massive user base began to threaten Facebook's dominance in the social media landscape. Facebook's next move was to limit Instagram's ability to hire more employees, essentially putting a cap on its expansion. Zuckerberg wasn't willing to let Instagram grow to a size that could rival Facebook, so by limiting resources, he ensured that Instagram would not get too large too quickly. This caused frustration within Instagram's ranks, as the team was stretched thin, struggling to handle the overwhelming demand and constant growth. Instagram's small team of around 500 people was tasked with managing over 500 million users, and it was clear that their resources were being stretched to the limit. The tipping point for Instagram's founders, Kevin Systrom and Mike Krieger, came as a result of Facebook's increasing pressure to monetize the platform. As the platform's growth was being channeled into Facebook's revenue model, the user experience was beginning to suffer. Instagram which had prided itself on being a visually focused platform with minimal distractions, was now filled with ads. The aesthetic and clean design that Instagram was originally known for was now being buried under the weight of Facebook's advertising machine. This was a huge issue for Kevin and Mike, who had always been committed to the platform's purity and simplicity. They didn't want Instagram to become just another advertising vehicle, but Facebook's pressures were undeniable. As the platform became more ad-heavy, Instagram's core identity began to erode, and this caused a growing rift between the founders and Facebook. The problem wasn't just the number of ads, it was the quality of the ads. Instagram's early approach had been to only allow high-quality, brand-specific advertisements that fit seamlessly into the platform's aesthetic. But Facebook, ever focused on maximizing profits, wanted to open the floodgates to all advertisers, regardless of the impact on user experience. This caused Instagram to become flooded with ads from brands that didn't align with its original vision. It wasn't just about the amount of ads, it was about the loss of Instagram's sense of integrity and its commitment to providing a great user experience. But it wasn't just the ads that led to the eventual breakup between the founders and Facebook. Another major issue was Facebook's increasing involvement in Instagram's operations. Facebook's leadership was constantly meddling in Instagram's decisions, undermining the independence that Kevin and Mike had fought for. It became clear that Facebook wanted full control over Instagram, and Mark Zuckerberg was determined to make it happen. By 2018, the tension reached a boiling point. Kevin and Mike had enough. The co-founders decided to leave Instagram, effectively walking away from the company they had built. Although the exact reasons behind their departure were never fully disclosed, leaked documents suggested that Kevin had grown frustrated with Zuckerberg's attempts to push him out. It was clear that Zuckerberg was determined to take full control of Instagram, and Kevin and Mike weren't willing to stay around to watch their vision be crushed. Their departure marked the end of Instagram's independence. With the founders gone, Facebook quickly moved to consolidate control over Instagram. The platform that had once been a dynamic, creative space now became just another extension of Facebook. Instagram was rebranded as Instagram from Facebook, signaling the full absorption of the platform into Facebook's larger ecosystem. From that moment on, Instagram's focus shifted entirely to profit. The app became an ad-driven behemoth, with Facebook using Instagram's data collection methods to fuel a new wave of targeted ads. It wasn't just about creating a better user experience anymore. It was about monetizing every aspect of the platform. This change came at the expense of the community that had made Instagram a success in the first place. And this transformation didn't just stop with Instagram's design or user experience. Facebook's data harvesting methods, which had long been a point of controversy, were soon applied to Instagram as well. Facebook's approach to data collection became an integral part of Instagram's growth strategy. This raised concerns about privacy and security, as Facebook's growing dominance in the social media world also meant that it had access to an unprecedented amount of user data. The first signs of trouble came when Instagram was embroiled in a data leak in 2018, which exposed the private information of over 49 million users. The breach revealed sensitive data such as contact information, profile pictures, and locations. This incident was just one of many that highlighted Instagram's poor treatment of user data. As Instagram became more integrated into Facebook's ecosystem, it also became more vulnerable to the same issues that Facebook had faced regarding user privacy. But the data scandals were only part of the bigger picture. Instagram was also facing a wave of criticism for its role in perpetuating unrealistic beauty standards and contributing to the growing mental health crisis among young users. Research had shown that Instagram was having a particularly negative impact on teenagers, with many reporting feelings of inadequacy, anxiety, and depression after using the platform. In 2021, a leaked internal report from Facebook, now Meta, revealed that Instagram was harmful to a significant number of teens, particularly young girls. The report showed that 40% of teens felt that Instagram made them feel unattractive, and nearly 30% of teens in the United Kingdom felt that Instagram made them feel inadequate. Despite this, Facebook chose to do nothing substantial about the issue, continuing to push for more user engagement and more data collection. What's worse, Facebook was actively working to expand its reach even further. The company had already acquired WhatsApp, and its plans for Instagram were clear. They wanted to take over the entire social media landscape. And this was only the beginning. As Facebook rebranded itself as Meta and began pushing into the metaverse, it was clear that its ultimate goal was to dominate not just social media, but the entire digital experience. The metaverse, a virtual reality space where users can interact with each other and digital environments, was seen as the next big step in Facebook's plan to control our digital lives. For Facebook, the metaverse represents the ultimate form of control. If they can create a virtual reality where people spend their entire lives, Facebook would have an unprecedented level of influence over society. It wouldn't just be about shaping what people see on their phones or computers, it would be about shaping their entire reality. This is the future that Mark Zuckerberg is banking on, and it's one that could change society in ways we can't yet fully understand. The metaverse is more than just a virtual space. It's a way for Facebook to further entrench its control over every aspect of our digital lives. If they succeed, they will not only control what we see on our screens, but also shape how we live, work, and interact in the virtual world. And with their ever-growing influence, Facebook's control over society may soon become limitless. Facebook's growing dominance over the digital landscape is not just about social media anymore. As Meta has now rebranded and shifted its focus to the metaverse, the company is setting its sights on a world where they don't just control social media platforms, but also become the architects of our entire digital experience. With the acquisition of Instagram, WhatsApp, and the growing interest in virtual reality, Facebook's vision is clear. It wants to control everything. This push into the metaverse, while still in its infancy, is a deeply strategic move. By positioning itself at the helm of virtual worlds, Facebook aims to dominate not just social media, but the entire online ecosystem. The metaverse is an all-encompassing digital universe where people will interact, socialize, work, and live. Facebook's investments here are massive, and if it succeeds, it could reshape the very fabric of society by blurring the lines between physical and digital realities. What's alarming, however, is how Facebook's control over these platforms is often disguised under the guise of community and innovation. But in reality, it's about locking users into a system that maximizes profit. And it's not just about ads anymore. Data is the new currency. The more Facebook knows about you, the better it can manipulate your behavior and sell you more products, services, and experiences. The future of Facebook, or rather Meta, hinges on its ability to track, analyze, and predict your every move in the virtual world. The move into the metaverse is Facebook's attempt to solidify its position as the central force in the digital space. Just as Facebook revolutionized social media, the company now wants to revolutionize how we interact with each other and the world around us. In the metaverse, your digital identity won't just be a profile. It'll be an entire persona that lives and breathes across different virtual platforms. Facebook plans to own it all. Your photos, your communications, your social interactions, and even your real-world behaviors. But what does this mean for users? Well, as we've seen from Facebook's history, once a company reaches this level of power, it's hard to escape its grasp. Facebook has been able to accumulate vast amounts of personal data over the years. And now, with the metaverse, it has the chance to track and manipulate even more of your life. The platform can already use your browsing habits and interactions across Instagram, WhatsApp, and Facebook to build an incredibly detailed profile of you. But in the metaverse, this profile could extend to how you interact in virtual environments, how much time you spend in different spaces, what kind of virtual goods you purchase, and even how you move through the virtual world. This kind of control is unprecedented. We've seen Facebook make billions of dollars off its advertising model. And now, with the metaverse, Zuckerberg has an even larger vision. He wants to get inside our heads. Facebook has already been accused of using manipulative algorithms to keep users hooked on the platform, using everything from negative emotions to addictive rewards to keep them engaged. The metaverse will only amplify this. Imagine spending hours in a virtual world, constantly surrounded by Facebook's algorithms, engaged, monitored, and influenced at every turn. But it's not just about profit. Zuckerberg's push into the metaverse is also a personal mission. He wants to create a new digital frontier where people can escape the limitations of the real world. However, it's hard to ignore the darker side of this vision. The technology might make life more immersive, but it also threatens to further disconnect us from the real world. It's one thing to post a photo on Instagram. It's another to spend hours a day living in a fabricated digital universe, disconnected from the physical reality around you. This push toward total control is where the biggest ethical concerns arise. Facebook, now Meta, already has a track record of mishandling user data and violating privacy agreements, as seen in the numerous scandals that have emerged over the years. Whether it's the 2018 data leak exposing the personal information of millions of Instagram users, or Facebook's track record of data harvesting from both its platforms and third-party sources, the company has proven time and again that it can't be trusted with sensitive data. What's even more worrying is how Facebook plans to expand its reach even further. The company's idea of creating a version of Instagram for kids under 13, a move that was delayed after significant public backlash, raises serious concerns about how Facebook intends to manipulate young minds. The plan to create a kid-friendly version of Instagram would have given Facebook access to an entirely new demographic of users, effectively establishing a long-term pipeline of data collection from the most vulnerable users. But Facebook's thirst for control doesn't end with Instagram or the metaverse. The company's ongoing expansion and influence in every aspect of our online lives are setting a dangerous precedent. Facebook now controls WhatsApp, Instagram, and Oculus, and it's becoming increasingly difficult to escape its ecosystem. Mark Zuckerberg's ambition is clear. He wants to create a digital empire where Facebook is at the center of everything. The long-term consequences of this kind of power are still unknown. Facebook's ability to shape and manipulate the digital experience is already staggering, but the metaverse could take this to a whole new level. We're not just talking about social media anymore. We're talking about a world where Facebook could control everything from entertainment to work to social interactions. And with billions of users on its platforms, Facebook already has the infrastructure to dominate every aspect of our digital lives. While the metaverse is still in its early stages, it's clear that Facebook or Meta has plans to make it the future of the internet. The company is already investing billions into developing this technology with the aim of creating a fully immersive digital environment where users can live, work, and play. But with this power comes a responsibility that Facebook has yet to demonstrate it can handle. As the company continues to expand, the risk of monopolistic control and the exploitation of users' data grows exponentially. It's not just about the money anymore. Facebook is positioning itself to reshape the entire digital ecosystem. And if it succeeds, the implications will be profound. The future of social media, communication, entertainment, and even reality itself could be under the control of one company. And as we've seen from Instagram's journey, Facebook isn't afraid to make bold moves to get what it wants, whether that means buying up competitors, manipulating the platform's design, or infringing on users' privacy. As Meta continues its push into the metaverse, the world is watching closely. What happens next could define the future of the internet, and whether Facebook's vision of a fully immersive, ad-driven digital universe will become the new norm. The question remains, is this the future we want? Or is it one that we will have to accept, whether we like it or not?